The city breathes cold air. Every raindrop striking the window is a countdown, a reminder that night always conquers day. And here, in the heart of concrete and solitude, an ancient philosophy promises a refuge, a fortress. They call it Stoicism. The promise is simple, almost brutal in its elegance. Reason as a bulwark against chaos, an inner citadel, impervious to the winds of fortune and the tempests of emotion. They sold us this idea as the ultimate answer. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor writing by candlelight in his campaign tent, surrounded by barbarians and plague, reminding himself that the only things that matter are right judgment, right action. Seneca, the counselor, facing down a tyrant's suicide order with a calm that bordered on disdain, imparting that death is merely the end of suffering, not suffering itself. Epictetus, the slave, teaching that even in chains, his mind was the only kingdom where he was truly free. Men of bronze, idols of an age when the enemy was visible. That enemy was physical pain, tyranny, the loss of status, death on the battlefield. And to these enemies, the fortress of reason seemed unassailable. Logic was the weapon. Virtue was the shield. What is under your control? Your thoughts, your judgments, your actions. What isn't? Everything else. The body, reputation, wealth, the opinions of others. Ignore what you cannot control. Accept your fate. Love your fate. Amor fati. It seems like a good deal, an insurance policy against suffering. You build your fortress brick by brick of discipline and logic. You train yourself to see the world as it is, indifferent. You learn not to desire what you cannot have and not to fear what you cannot avoid. You become the master of your own inner universe, imperturbable, serene, calm. But the night changed. The enemy is no longer outside the gates. Modern pain doesn't come with the clash of swords or the decree of an emperor. It comes as a whisper, a white noise in the back of the mind, a low, constant frequency of anxiety that is nameless and faceless. It's the emptiness that opens up when you scroll the infinite feed, seeing perfectly curated lives that make yours seem like a clumsy, unfinished draft. It's the pressure to be productive even in moments of rest. It's the solitude amidst the connected crowd. It's what Nietzsche saw when he looked into the abyss and declared that God was dead. It was no cry of triumph. It was a death knell for meaning. Without an ordered cosmos, without a divine logos that permeates all things, the Stoic fortress loses its foundation. The ancient Stoic believed that living in accordance with nature was living in accordance with the divine reason of the universe. But what if the nature of the universe is merely a silent, indifferent void? What if reason is not an echo of the divine, but merely a biochemical accident, a survival tool that is now turned against itself? It's here that the fortress begins to seem less a sanctuary and more a tomb. Reason, the great Stoic weapon, is confronted with an enemy it cannot process: meaninglessness. Modern suffering is not an event, it's a state. It's not an arrow to the chest, it's the very air we breathe. How can logic fight against nothingness? How can acceptance heal a wound with no discernible origin, merely a pervasive, existential ache? The modern Stoic tries. He reads the classics. He practices the dichotomy of control. He meditates on impermanence. He builds his walls tall and thick. Outwardly, he appears calm, controlled, unflappable. He's the co-worker who never complains, the friend who always offers rational advice, the public figure who navigates crises with enviable serenity. He wears the mask of icy imperturbability. But ice offers no warmth. It merely freezes what lies beneath. The pain is not processed. It is suppressed. Sadness isn't understood. It's dismissed as irrational. Fear isn't confronted. It's locked away in a dark basement of the mind. The mask is perfect, but behind it, the face is frozen in a silent rite of suffering. Calmness is not peace, it's paralysis. a pathology. Stoic tranquility in the modern abyss might just be a sophisticated form of denial. Schopenhauer would have scoffed at such a fortress. He would say that our bulwarks of reason are just a thin layer of earth over a volcano. Beneath, the blind, irrational will pulsates an incessant desire that can never be appeased. You can rationalize all you want, but the will keep craving, suffering, striving. The Stoic attempts to extinguish desire, but desire is the very essence of life, no matter how painful it may be. By trying to rid himself of suffering, he runs the risk of ridding himself of life itself. And what is the cost of this artificial peace? What happens when you train yourself to be indifferent to what you cannot control? You become indifferent to another's suffering because their suffering isn't within your control. You become indifferent to injustice in the world because the world isn't within your control. Apathy, the absence of disturbing passions, transforms into a somber apathy, an insensitivity that isolates one not only from pain, but also from joy, empathy, and connection. The fortress becomes a solitary prison. The walls intended to protect against the external world. They ultimately bar anything from entering. Love, compassion, vulnerability. These are all passions, after all, irrational risks, threats to the sovereignty of the inner citadel. The Stoic, in their quest for self-sufficiency, may ultimately achieve absolute isolation, an emperor of a solitary kingdom, ruling over silence and dust. And the mask, however strong, has cracks. Modern anxiety is like water. It seeps through the tiniest fissures. The Stoic's smile, serene and controlled, begins to seem forced. A broken smile. It's the panic that arises out of nowhere in the middle of an important meeting. It's the insomnia that gnaws at the nights, despite all the breathing exercises. It's the feeling that, despite all the logic and discipline, something is fundamentally wrong. The fortress is solid, but the ground beneath it is trembling. Stoicism teaches you to endure torture, but it doesn't prepare you for the soul-crushing boredom of a purposeless life. It teaches you to face death, but it doesn't equip you with the tools to confront a gray, meaningless Tuesday. The philosophy forged for generals and emperors rings hollow in the corridors of a fluorescent-lit office. So, I wander through this rain-swept city, and I see fortresses everywhere. The impassive faces on the subway, the polished corporate profiles, in the relentless pursuit of productivity hacks and life optimization, all building their walls, attempting to keep chaos at bay. And I feel like a detective who finally arrives at the crime scene long after the perpetrators have departed. I knock at the gates of the great Stoic fortress, hailed as the salvation for our age of anxiety. The gates creak open, and I step inside. The courtyard is pristine. The walls are high, the architecture flawless, a masterpiece of reason. There is no disorder, there is no passion, there is no chaos. But there is also nobody. The emperor's throne is empty. The council room is silent. Libraries are filled with books that go unread. The fortress stands, magnificent and impregnable, but it is empty. Reason, the great commander, has abdicated. Confronted with the external void, she forged an equivalent void within. She triumphed over emotion, but lost the war for meaning. The citadel protects nothing, because there's nothing left to protect. What was meant to be a refuge has become a monument to nothingness. The fortress was not invaded. It was abandoned by its own king. The rain outside seems heavier now. The city lights seem more distant. The promise of tranquility proves to be the greatest of illusions. The fortress did not yield to the enemy. The fortress is the enemy. A perfect mausoleum where we bury our own humanity in the hope of feeling no more pain. And in the deafening silence of its empty corridors, a single truth echoes. Reason, alone, yields to the void. The fortress is empty. The next step is to ask what inhabits the ruins.